welcome to the Veterinary Marketing Podcast, where it's all about helping your veterinary practice attract, engage, and retain clients. Broadcasting a new podcast every Monday from sunny Southern California, here's your host, Brandon Bashirs.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode number 113 of the Veterinary Marketing Podcast. I hope you're having a fantastic day. I'm really excited about today's interview. I interviewed Adam Greenbaum from whiskercloud.com, and we did a deep dive into some of the analytics that he's been reviewing. It was a very insightful interview, and it's full of great info that you're going to be able to apply to your veterinary practice's website specifically. So I'm very excited about it. It is a really good interview, and it just is full of great information. So before we begin, a few things. First, be sure to subscribe in iTunes. And if you could do me a huge favor, please leave me an honest review. I would really, really appreciate it. Also, be sure to check out my newsletter filled with tips and tricks that will help you to become a better marketer. If you want to text the word veterinary to 44222, you can sign up for my newsletter. Or you can head on over to veterinarymarketingpodcast.com to sign up there as well. Also, be sure to connect on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Snapchat, wherever you like to connect. I'm there, and I'm happy to connect with you. As always, if you ever have any questions, comments, or need help with anything, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'd also like to mention that this episode is being sponsored by snoutschool.com. Do you ever feel like you're wasting time with your veterinary hospital's social media efforts? Well, veterinary practice manager Danielle Lampert has put together a list of 5 awesome social media tools that every hospital needs to succeed. Danielle is dedicated to teaching veterinary hospitals to use social media via her website, snoutschool.com. So go to snoutschool.com/Brandon to get her list of 5 must-have social media tools now. You'll learn how to create professional-looking social media graphics, you'll save time by scheduling posts, and you'll find out where your clients spend time online. Not only that, she's got great tips for getting your whole veterinary team to understand the importance of social media. So head on over to snoutschool.com/Brandon to get the 5 must-have social media tools for your practice today. That's snoutschool.com/BRANDON. All right, so let's get into today's episode. Today we talked to Adam Greenbaum. He is the founder of whiskercloud.com, and they are doing amazing things with veterinary practice websites. So I've had Adam on. It was actually episode 108, I believe. If you haven't listened to that episode, be sure to go back and check it out. But they're doing amazing things, and they're getting a lot of recognition for all the good things that they're doing. Not only that, I've had a lot of people who listen to the podcast say, hey, I reached out to them. They get back really quickly. They have great customer service, and they're very excited about it. So I think they're very, very innovative in a lot of the things that they're doing, and I really like their work product. And Adam is a first-rate guy, so I've been able to speak to him many times, and he definitely knows his stuff. So very excited about having him on again, the podcast for sure. And so I'd like to mention this too before you begin. If you're thinking about getting a new website for your veterinary practice, head on over to whiskercloud.com/Brandon. That's BRANDON. And if you sign up, I will get a referral commission. So appreciate all the support that you could send to the podcast that way. And I'm very confident that you will be happy with the product that they give you. So today we talk about analytics specifically and what Adam has been able to find out in developing veterinary hospital websites and all of the data that he's been able to look at and some key insights that he's gathered from that data. So it's full of great information, and I hope that you enjoy it. As always, if you have any questions, comments, need help with anything, please don't hesitate to reach out, and I hope that you enjoy this interview with Adam Greenbaum. All right, so on the podcast today, we have Adam Greenbaum back again. Thanks so much for being on the podcast, Adam. Appreciate it very much.
Hey, we're back. How are you?
Doing good. So if you missed Adam's first interview, episode 110, I believe, of the podcast, it was a great interview, and he's back because he's got a bunch of new data. Just real quick, though, can you give a little bit of background for those who didn't hear the last episode of how you got into the vet industry?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm the CEO of Whisker Cloud. It's funny, the last time we did the podcast with you, I think we were sitting there with, we had a good amount of veterinary hospitals that signed up with us. And, even last week, we were just named one of the top 50 startups to watch in 2017. We were just named one of the top 7 startups in Colorado. And it's been a really exciting first year for us. So, what we do is we build custom websites, mobile websites, apps. We do all the SEO, analytics, social media content. We do all the web hosting, security. We basically take all of that scary, crazy digital stuff that people in the veterinary industry, it's a lot to do and it's a lot to think about. And to be honest, I don't think that most people that aren't in that industry and in that space know that, man, sure, I can go host with GoDaddy for $8, but well, do you have an SSL certificate? Do you have security? Do you have your database being backed up? How are your forms being sent to you? So, we really focus on taking care of everything digital for the veterinary world. Obviously it starts with the beautiful websites, but it's the analytics, which is something we're going to be talking a lot about today. It's doing all the SEO and reminding them that, hey, SEO comes free. We're not, SEO is sort of the spammy scam word out there where everyone thinks, oh yeah, I think you said it best. You said SEO is not just a faucet that you can turn on and off. And that is so true. You could not have given a better example when you were talking about that it is not this faucet that you just, I turned it on and I wrote the word Los Angeles veterinarian on your website 40 times, so now you're number one on Google. There's so much that goes into all this, and we really want to make it easy on everyone. And then what we do is we take all the data, like we're going to talk about today, and we use that data to get even better. So that's what we're doing.
Very cool. Yeah, that's exactly. So I can't agree more with that SEO is structural and it's optimization. It's not active sorcery or something crazy that people probably think it is. So definitely. Well, today what we're going to be talking about is a bunch of data that you pulled in the case study. So give me a breakdown of an overview of what happened in this case study, because it's some pretty remarkable results.
Yeah, we just published this on the Whisker Cloud blog. And it was really cool. And it was something we've been watching over time. So it's so funny because a lot of our vets will come to us and, they'll say, it's actually pretty funny when they say, well, I'm spending $1,000 a month on AdWords. And I'll say, oh, good. How's it doing? And they'll say, what do you mean? And I say, well, you're spending $1,000. Are you making $1,000 back at least? Are you getting clicks to your site? And they're like, well, yeah, it says we had 58 clicks to our site. They don't realize they're spending $10 to $15 per click. And then I say, well, are they converting to customers? And it's, well, I don't know. How are we supposed to know that? And you are supposed to know that. Sorry, we have dogs in the office. And so you are supposed to know that. And what we do is every time we build a site, we put Google Analytics on every single page, and then we build out a KPI dashboard, which is key performance indicators. And we start tracking a lot of different metrics, some things that we're actively watching, other things that we sort of look at on an ad hoc basis. But at the end of every month, we are sending all of our clients a dashboard that basically says, this is how many unique visitors came to your site. This is how many times they came to your site. This is how many page views you had. This is your bounce rate. This is your busiest day. These are the cities or counties or zip codes that are visiting you most, which often surprises people quite a bit. And we're giving them how much of their traffic is from organic search, how much of their traffic is from social media, things like that. So we're really big on data, and we're really big on, if you're going to invest in having a custom site and do social media, or you don't do any of that, but you decide to do AdWords, or you decide to buy a print ad in the local newspaper, whatever you decide to do, you have to have these type of numbers and you have to have this data, or it's a waste of money. You may as well light it on fire.
Definitely. And that's so true. Specifically with AdWords, Google is set up to create goals and things, so you should be able to measure your online traffic and conversion when you're sending online traffic to your website. So that's huge. Number one, I totally agree. So data and measurement of analytics is very important. But one thing I heard a statistic, I don't know if it's true, but something like 78% of websites have Google Analytics installed on them, but I think it was something like no more than 20% of people have actually ever logged in to see their data. And I think that's a factor of it being overwhelming, because it's just a tremendous amount of data aggregated together that you don't really know where to look and things. So that's pretty cool that you have a dashboard built into it. But with this data, what were some key things that you found that really stood out to you? And one thing that I think is super cool, so with this data, you're able to see kind of industry-wide what's happening. So if you have a small website with just a tiny bit of traffic, which is pretty typical for the average practice, you don't get that much data to it. It's hard to make some big conclusions without having, statistical irregularities in that data. If you only have 100 visitors a month, which is a small number, but I'm sure there's practices that have that much data, and it's hard to make definitive decisions off something like that. So what did you guys find with the data that you got?
I love the stat that you just gave about Google Analytics, because that really drives home the first piece of data that we really decided to call out here. So the last time I was on with you, we had done that case study. We tested 500 veterinary sites. This was right before we launched our company early in 2016, and we decided to test 500 veterinary websites on our cloud server, and we tested them for mobile responsiveness. It was 18%. We tested them, do they have any type of coding whatsoever for analytics or SEO? It was in either or, it wasn't both, and it stood at 22%. And most of them were not set up correctly. So it's interesting, again, we have this case where you saw the stat, which sounds just about right to me, where 78% of sites have Google Analytics, and here we are in the veterinary industry, and when we looked, 22% had SEO or analytics, which would mean even less had analytics on their site. So our first big data point, it's so funny. I will literally pound my fist on the table as long as I have to get this industry to understand how badly you need a mobile website. So Google recently changed their algorithm to basically said more traffic online comes from mobile devices and tablets than desktop computers. So if you do not have a website that is mobile responsive, you're not going to be showing up in their search engine rankings. So when I say mobile responsive, I don't mean an app, and I do not mean a mobile friendly site that, that is like a mobile version of your site that pops up m.yourwebsite.com. Google wants a site that will respond to any screen size, and that is what Whisker Cloud builds. So we build sites that if I'm looking at it, on my desk I have a 32-inch monitor I work off of. It looks perfect on that. It looks great on my 15-inch MacBook Pro. It looks awesome on my Google Pixel XL. It looks really nice on my Samsung tablet. It looks great on my employees' iPhones. And the point is that you have to have mobile responsive websites. That's what Google wants, and Google gets 90-something% share of search engine queries, meaning you want to make them happy. So our first data point, of all of the websites that Whisker Cloud has done, it's quite a few, 71% of all traffic was from mobile devices, meaning a mobile phone or a tablet. So here we are. We had done that case study that showed 18% of veterinary sites were mobile responsive. And what we've seen with our clients is that 71% of traffic is mobile. So 7 out of 10 visitors to these sites are coming from a mobile device. So if you're listening to this, look at your site and ask yourself, does this work on a mobile device? Is it mobile friendly? Can I click to call you? Can I click to email you? Can I request an appointment from my phone? If you cannot, it's bad. I don't really know what else to say. So you think about that. We tested 500 sites at random, which is a pretty good sample size, and we got 18%. We have quite a few sites we've just tested, and it shows 71%. So, I mean, you have this just enormous gap in between these two numbers it's 53%. There's a 53% gap here in where the industry is and what's actually happening in the industry. So the data tells us that 7 out of 10 people are going to veterinary sites from a mobile device, and 1 out of 5 are equipped to handle it. So, we have this big issue, and that number, I was really excited because I've been watching this number, and it was at one point when we were a smaller company and had smaller vets, it was as high as 78. As we sort of added more veterinary hospitals and we grew quite a bit, and we watched that number drop. But, when we looked at the year on average, it was 71%. So, you think about that, that is quite the number.
It's crazy. And that's such a good point that it's not just a mobile pop-up version that'll be a rule that's created that if this is on a mobile device or mobile browser, then this website pops up. Because Google, it's going to penalize. So search engine optimization is about optimizing for what Google's looking for. And they have said blatantly that if you have a site that is not mobile optimized and responsive, they will not rank your site in the same way that they would a site that is mobile optimized. So if you could do that, the chances are you'd be light years ahead of your competition, just from that one standpoint, from functionality, at least. So
yeah, absolutely.
That's amazing. So that being said, not only are people sending organic traffic to a mobile site, but they're also that is not optimized for mobile. They're also sending AdWords to a site that's not optimized for mobile. So they're spending money and pouring money into it that is not going to get a result, which is frustrating.
Isn't that interesting how that works? I mean, and again, like you would not, and again, this is not something that veterinarians are taught. This is not something that people are meant to know. I mean, I'll tell you, I had to actually go to the Google offices to get certified in using AdWords. And, when I'm there, you think about, well, wait a second, what time of day do you want your ads to run? What page do you want your ad to send people to? What type of devices do you want us to target? I mean, these are a lot of things that even myself with a marketing and coding background you don't always think of these things. So it's not a bad thing that veterinarians don't understand that, but it is very interesting to me when they are doing banner ads on the local newspaper site or they are doing AdWords, they don't realize, well, wait a second, more traffic online is mobile. And if I'm sending them to a website that's not mobile friendly, if I'm not sending them to a landing page that has a strong call to action, this is a big waste of money and a big waste of time.
Absolutely. And that's what the majority of traffic is doing. Or vets practices, they just send it to their homepage and they say, get there and figure it out. And that's definitely a huge problem. So there's a huge gap in usability and functionality. Is there anything else that you saw that really stood out to you?
So we have, we've got a great content team. We actually are in the process of hiring a couple more. And our content team just does a great job of writing strong blog posts for our vets, doing the SEO, doing strong social media for them, creating custom graphics for them, really making it personal. So guess what? We don't have to be in office to make it seem like someone in the office is doing a great job. And I think that's a large part thanks to our amazing clients and practice managers who work so closely with us and send us photos for us to edit and add logos to and things like that. So it was very interesting. What we did was we took all of our accounts that whether they do social media with us or not, we put all of the ones that did social media into one pile, and we put everyone else in another pile, and we broke down the data. And the people that were part of social media and were active on social media got 2.3 times more traffic. So think of the investment on time. It's that simple. It's literally that simple to more than double your traffic. So we live in a veterinary world. Since the last time we spoke and I was on the podcast, I've learned even more about this industry. And I'll tell you, I think it's a scary industry. And I think we've got a lot of doctors that are stressed out about getting people in the door, getting people to come back in. I'm every vet's dream because I've got 2 Boston Terriers and my little rescue guy Baxter gets a little itchy. I just called the vet. He had a little something on his chest. It's probably nothing. I said, hey, he's got this thing on his chest. We need some more medicine. I need their nails trimmed. I'm going to come on in. And I go see them once a month. I get their nails trimmed. I do their shots. I go say hello, and it's great. So not everyone's like me. So we have to think of how do we, you need a great website that's going to help convert them. And then B, it's how do we get more traffic to that site? Because our website, this is 2017. Your website is literally your storefront online. You better have a great website in 2017, period. So you've got your website, and if you can be active on social media, listen, we'd love to help you, and we'd love to make it custom for you and do a great job of it. Even if we don't, it's not hard to take some pictures of some smiling dogs, of your team taking care of a cat who hurt its leg, or have a picture of the doctor smiling. I mean, people really like that. And we see that, 2.3 times more traffic for people that are participating in social media, that's not a fluke. The numbers were very different. It was more visitors, more page views, more time spent on site, lower bounce rate, more engagement, more emails coming in, more online forms filled out. Everything across the board said if you have a social media presence, you're doing better than someone who isn't.
That makes a lot of sense, because the more awareness that you can generate for your practice, people just have a lot of stuff going on in their lives. It's like, when was the last time you were at the dentist? You probably don't remember when you're due for another dental exam, and that's something for yourself. So you add layers of kids and pets and everything on everybody's lives, and it becomes difficult to remember. So keeping in front of them is extremely important. So I totally agree. One thing I wanted to mention real quick: if you text the word mobile ready, MOBILE READY to 44222 for podcast listeners, then I will send you a link with the Google mobile friendly test, and also a link to Adam's website, so you can take the test and see if your site is mobile responsive and mobile friendly, and Google can tell you that no, it's not, or yes, it is. And that's a pretty definitive way to know. I'm sure there's other factors as well, but if you do that mobile ready, one word, to 44222, I'll send you that link automatically. But that kind of brings me to the next thing. So social media and web presence is extremely very, very closely related. I get a question all the time from people: is they're trying to figure out what to do first, and I have kind of an opinion on the hierarchy of what's most important to begin with. How do you think people should go about evaluating whether or not they should focus on their website? I think number one, if their website fails that mobile friendly test, that's question number one, and they fail, so they need a new website. In my opinion, in 2017 and moving forward, it's just going to get worse and worse if you can't fix it now.
Yeah,
what are you thinking?
Well, I'll tell you this, and I had spoken with a doctor in Illinois who had a site she really didn't like, and was really unhappy with it, and was spending quite a bit in AdWords. And I said, do you have a landing page where you're sending your traffic? No. So I think at the end of the day, you got to have the website first. It's like, you wouldn't put, if you're a new doctor and you're saying, hey, and we just did the website for an awesome veterinary clinic. It's just about to open in Boyle Heights, Los Angeles. And, same thing. He got his site up a little earlier before launch, just to get that SEO value and get online and get, people in the area can now see, oh, good, there's a veterinary clinic when they're searching for it locally. But at the end of the day, if you're going to do advertising, if you're going to do social media, you're sending it back to your site. If you don't have a great site, you're wasting your money. I mean, it's like if I was a car dealer and I was saying we have the biggest Memorial Day sale of the year, and then you showed up and I had 4 cars on the lot that were all beaten up, what's the point? Why did I do the advertisement? Why did I do the sale? So, having the website is great. I mean, I think that's central. You have a great office. You have a great website. That is literally what every company needs in 2017, because everyone is going to look you up. Whether you're their new vet, you're their new dentist, whether they swiped right on you on Tinder and they want to go stalk you on Facebook and Instagram to see what you're really like, all of those things, they're always coming back to a website to check up on you. And I just think it's important to put your best foot forward.
Definitely. And I think, too, if you're going to spend any amount of time investing, and obviously if you're working at a practice and you can't get buy-in from the owner to do something, then obviously something is better than nothing as far as investing into your social media or something. But if you're going to take the time to invest into social media, your returns will be amplified by having a better result. I'm sure you could do something wrong and still get results. It's better than doing nothing. But at the same time, any return that you will get will be amplified by that increased conversion and efficiency for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's very cool. So other than mobile tests, what, in your opinion, well, I guess there's probably a lot of structural things from an SEO standpoint and other things, but are there any other simple tests that you can think of that would be a good indicator that it's time to really think about getting a new site for your practice?
Well, I mean, I would, if you have Google Analytics, and even if you don't know what you're looking at, and you say to the person that set up, whether you have an IT person, a local marketing company, whatever it is, find a way to get access to it, go log in, And, I want you to look at a couple numbers. One is I want you to look at how many unique visitors you have. So it'll be called visitors, and look at it over time and say, why were we up? Why were we down? Things like that. Look at your pages per visit. If you don't have at least 2, there's something really wrong with your site, because it's going to take more than one click for someone to contact you, find your address, learn about you. So look at your pages per visit. That's how many pages the average person looks at when they visit your site, and look at your bounce rate, because Google factors bounce rate very, very highly into their sites. So I can tell you, in my experience, if you have a site like ESPN or CNN, you're going to have an 80% bounce rate. But your ESPN or CNN, because people are on Facebook, they click the link and they read it and leave. So a bounce rate is basically a bounce is what happens when someone comes to your site, does not look at a second page, and leaves. They're a bounce. So for you, even if you've got a contact form, they will not count as a bounce, meaning that if you have a high bounce rate, you have a problem. So a lot of our vets come to us with a website that's not mobile friendly. So what's happening is people are finding them somehow. They are clicking the link. They're going to their site saying, "Oof, this doesn't work. I can't do anything. I can't call them." Okay, and they leave. So they just bounced. Google says, "Ooh, another bounce? This isn't a great site. I don't want to show this in my search engine rankings because people are bouncing. 8 out of 10, 80% of people are bouncing. So it's clearly not what people are looking for." So a lot of our vets are in the low 30s, high 20s, and I'm really happy with those numbers, because the rule of thumb is you want to shoot for under 50. So I'm happy with our numbers being at in the 20s and 30s, because that means, again, 7 or 8 out of 10 people are coming to the site. They're at least looking at something else. Now, we do a good job. We have click to call, click to email, contact forms on the homepage, because, again, if I'm running with Sophie and Baxter at the park and something happens to Baxter and I need to go to my vet's site and I need to call them, I don't want to have to, okay, what's their phone number? It's 303-855. And then what do? I close Chrome, I open my phone app, I type in 3038. Oh man, what was it? Close the phone app, then it deletes the numbers I'd already put in, pull Chrome back up, say the phone number to myself 40 times to try to memorize it, go back, forget the last 2. I think we've all done that before. So, look at the bounce rate, make sure your site's friendly for people. Look at the cities that are visiting you. And I'm telling you this right now, and a lot of people don't know this, and there's a lot of scam artists out there that veterinarians are very easy prey. Look at these cities and where people are visiting your sites. If it is not within 30 minutes of you and you're paying for advertising, something's really wrong. And you're going to want to do that. We had a veterinary clinic who was spending almost $2,000 a month. They were in North Carolina. And I said, "Do you realize how much of your traffic is coming from Florida? Why do you have traffic coming from Florida?" Well, it turns out the person didn't exactly do the ad correctly. They didn't set up exactly where they wanted to target for some odd reason. One of the surgical options they offered, a lot of people in Florida, I'm assuming it's because there's a large population there, were searching for it. Their ad was coming up. And what was happening is they had like a 98% bounce rate because, people would click on it and say, "Perfect, my dog needs a surgery." Wait, they're in North Carolina, I'm in Florida. This doesn't make sense. Leave. So it's little things like that. Look at those numbers, and it'll tell you a story about your website.
Definitely. And for anybody listening, if you're interested and you don't know how to look at your Google Analytics, send me an email and I would be happy to go through it with you. And you can just request that. I've done that for several people, and it tells a very big story for sure. And definitely that bounce rate is probably the easiest indicator to look at. And that just an easy way to think about it is somebody comes to your site and then leaves without performing any action. So like what Adam was saying, if somebody clicks to call, that doesn't count. And so Google won't penalize you for those kind of activities for sure. So that's definitely really good. So how would you suggest people get hold of you if they're interested in finding out more?
Yeah, come to whiskercloud.com, look around. If you want to see a demo, you could personally email me at adam@whiskercloud.com. If you email the team, they'll set you up with someone to do a demo. I like to do a lot of demos when I can, just because I built the platform, and And I really like to talk to the vets and the practice managers and really find out what drove them to get to us, and 90% of the time it's, well, we were with company X, we have a templated website, or every time we need to make a change, it takes 2 weeks to hear back, or, our site, most of the time it's because their sites are not mobile friendly. But I mean, we're here to help. We're a team of, as you heard my dogs barking earlier, everyone brings their dogs to the office. I mean, we've got a great team here of pet lovers, and everyone's really passionate about this. And, as you've heard me talking, I mean, we've got so much data, and we track everything. We track more social media data than I can even count. But at the end of the day, I started the company because I wanted to modernize the veterinary industry. That's been sort of my go-to saying since we started the company. And I mean, even last week when we were named one of the top 50 startups to watch this year, which was a great honor for us, they called me and asked for a quote, and I said, we're just here trying to modernize the veterinary industry because that's really what we're trying to do. And working with people like Brandon is just, it's helping us help everyone else, which I'm really excited about. And, for a guy like you to be able to text people this information, to take the time to go over their Google Analytics with them, which, we're certainly happy to do too. I mean, that's why you're our guy.
For sure. I'm sure you guys would go through a detailed game plan with anybody interested too. Yeah. I didn't want to speak for you though, because it's, yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast, Adam. It's always good to have you. Next time you do an awesome case study, and maybe someday I'll be able to get a look under the hood too, because I would love to see what kind of data you guys are pulling. Because again, it's so insightful to have that much volume of data, because it'll give you statistically valuable, a lot more accurate data too, which is difficult to pull on a large scale, especially when you're shooting for conversions, which is at the bottom of your funnel, so you have a few to go off of with most practices. So very cool, man. Really appreciate you for being on. Have any requests or anything other that you wanted to mention before we wrap up here?
I'll give everyone one quick number that I want everyone to think about after they're done listening to this. We've got a lot of vets who come to us and they say, well, we really try to go after people within 5 miles of our practice. And I'll tell you this, looking at the data, our average reach is about more like 15 miles. We had one vet in California who actually got their biggest infusion of new clients in a month. And the clients were coming from San Jose, which is about 30 miles away from them. So think bigger. You're not stuck to a 5-mile radius. I personally drive about 40 minutes to see our vet. So just know that you're not trapped in your 5-mile bubble. You can reach further with good SEO, and you can reach people from other other areas that are willing to drive to you if you have something great to offer them. And you'll sell them that with a great website and offerings on that site.
That's a really good point. And I think that is probably you're going to get better quality of client too. Not that because if somebody's willing to drive further, they're obviously highly committed to providing the best for their pet. So that's a really good point, and that's a cool stat that you had there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, very cool. Well, thank you so much, Adam. I really appreciate it, and we'll look forward to having you on the podcast again.
Awesome, man. Thank you very much. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. All right, so I hope that you enjoyed that interview. I think it was full of a lot of good information. Again, if you are interested in checking out a demo, you can go to whiskercloud.com/Brandon and request a demo there. Again, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you on next week's episode. Have a great week.